Hello and welcome back to day number 1 of SPL Group A. We just saw Orbit versus eLevate, and joining us now on the table is going to be Dazer, coach of Orbit. How are you guys feeling after that win?
Yeah, pretty good. Obviously 2 wins. We can't exactly not be happy, but the game 2 was a bit shaky for us, I'd say. So we're not as happy as we would be, but yeah. I mean, we're happy with it, of course.
Well, getting 3 points, it put your team in a really good position to close out the first day right now. Heading next, it's going to be Dignitas against eLevate right now. And specifically, these 2 teams... Taco, you're from Dignitas.
Yeah, it'll definitely be very interesting for me to see how this plays out. You know, Digger coming into their first set of the day, eLevate's had a bit of a warm-up, especially against one of the best teams, you know, if not the best team in EU right now, arguably. And so it'll definitely be interesting to see whether or not they continue the same pacing as Orbit against eLevate, or if eLevate are going to bring somewhat of a fight to it.
We definitely saw a lot of confidence out of eLevate the last game, but speaking of confidence right now, Suntouch, he's feeling very focused right now heading into this game. We haven't seen him in a while from LAN, so we're going to see how he's been playing before in the last split.
I love Suntouch, man. Like, every time I see him, I'm so happy. Me and him, like, get along really well. We talk a lot. I think he's a great player, and the switch to Hunter, like, helped him so much. Like, he's so much more comfortable there in support. Like, he's one of the top hunters at the moment, form-wise.
He's a really nice guy. He builds up the team's morale a lot. Like, if we're feeling down, if we just like lost goals, he'll just keep us up.
The man that cannot carry games, at least that's what Ravana said, but I think his Freya plays in our games proved him wrong.
Suntouch is like new to the ADC role. He's pretty good on the 2 gods for me. He's pretty good on Freya and Jing.
Suntouch surprised me because I didn't think he would do well at all. And I think he has done really well. He's part of the reason why the team actually does decently. His Freya is the most known pick of him for sure. He does amazingly on the god.
Suntouch also very good guy. #1 streamer, I think, for the players at least.
Personally, he's got a good, he's got a good Twitch stream. I usually watch him here and there. Out of the game, I don't really know him. I'm pretty sure he has me blocked on Twitter, so yeah.
Suntouch, the big boy from EU. Yeah, he's a good guy.
That was Suntouch from Team Dignitas, the hunter, and he's a jack of all trades right now, but playing a lot of different roles. But he's going to be matched against Jermain out of eLevate. Definitely a very aggressive hunter player, I would say.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the more aggressive hunters in the league. Like, he's definitely, mechanically wise, he's probably, I'd say, the 2nd best AD carry in the league, actually. Or maybe 3rd, like in the top 3 at the very least. Like, yeah, no, he's definitely got a matchup for him right here.
And he's going to be having to deal with this kind of aggressiveness. Do you think he's going to be relying on those late game Freyas that he's been known for, or do you think he's adapted to the strategy and prepared for a different kind of character?
I think Jermain's definitely been trying to practice more into dealing with a late game carry, even though he tends to lean more towards the physical hunter, so I believe he's going to try and be bringing out that Rama, potentially even bringing out the on her, except for hopefully for a better boxing match in the 1v1 stage.
So what position would you rather be in? eLevates that just played a game, or Dignitas who's been studying eLevate in the last set?
Right now, personally, I think I'd actually prefer to be in eLevate spot. They're all new to the LAN environment, and after having like a really good warm-up for them, like especially with the game 2, it actually lasted quite a lot longer than the first game as well. It got more into the actual game state, so like right now, I think they're more prepared in that sense, at least.
What about you, Taco? Would you rather be in Dignitas' shoes or eLevate's?
I think Dignitas does have a slight edge in that they're able to analyze the past set that eLevate just played, and especially for eLevate to be going against a team like Orbit and to be doing as well as they did, Dig definitely know to be aware, and they're definitely going to be very conscious of that whole carry potential coming out of eLevate, because they see that it's there. There is a chance for eLevate to bring the upset. So it's going to be up to Team Dignitas to really not allow that to happen.
Well, anything can happen at LAN. And Dignitas right now banning out Terra and Sobek, the 2 Guardians. And whereas eLevate, they're banning out the Fafnir. So a lot of Guardians already off the table. We'll see what eLevate elects to ban out second. I'm kind of predicting more of a jungle style here. There's Susanoo available, Ao Kuang as well. Okay, so going for the Susanoo ban from eLevate. Dignitas with the first pick right now. They're probably going to lean for, what would you say, a jungle pick?
Sorry, say that again?
So Dignitas right now, they're going to go for the Raijin pick right now. I was expecting more of a jungle style with the Ao Kuang being available, but instead electing to go for the Raijin, more burst style, trying to take that away from Nulisa, who's had a lot of warm-up.
To me, that makes a lot of sense. Nulisa even, she just played Raijin 2 games in a row, and it's clearly something that she does feel comfortable on after them first picking it. So in my mind, it seems like they just want to take it away from eLevate more than anything.
You can also notice how Team Dignitas, they opted to ban out that Terra Sobek, and eLevate already banning out the Fafnir. It really takes away the aggressive supports, which Dardez does tend to play a favor towards, so it seems like a little bit of a support focus coming out from Team Dignitas.
Doesn't seem that eLevate are really phased by this pick at all. They're going to go for the Janus and the Ratatoskr, more of this global presence. We saw in the last set against Orbit a great counter ban of Janus, or focus ban from Nulisa.
Yeah, it seems to me right now eLevate just seem to be picking gods that they're very comfortable on. Like we've seen Jiffy, he's played quite a lot of Ratatoskr over the SPL and also in the last set. He does play it incredibly well. But it's just really weird to me that the Ao Kuang's actually still left open.
It kind of doesn't surprise me that Ao Kuang would still be left open. Team Dignitas in the past, throughout this entire split, haven't really leaned towards picking Ao Kuang. I don't think it's something that FrostiaK really wants to mess with. I think that he'd rather stick with the early engage. They opted for that Raijin. They're clearly looking for the early aggression. Janus Ratatoskr, while Ratatoskr does have that early game setup factor, Janus doesn't really do as much damage in the early game as compared to Raijin. So having that Raijin Fenrir, I think they're going to have a bit more kill potential at the start of the game in comparison to what eLevate's trying to run.
And Dignitas responding right now with a Fenrir Jing Wei. I like the idea and the mindset because the Brutalize is going to be able to chase down WorldEdit during the dash, and electing to respond to this with a Rama who's also going to get chased down during his role.
Yeah, to me, the Rama's quite a weird pick for me right now, especially into the Fenrir. Like, Fenrir tends to do incredibly well into the Rama and even into the Ratatoskr. Janus, not so much, but the Fenrir makes complete sense for me right here. I'd say the Rama pick's more than likely just because it's probably Jermain's like best god. He's most known for that god, and it's just a comfort pick more than anything.
It seems like there's a lot of late game carry potential already coming out of eLevate, similar to the second game. The first game against Orbit, it was more of this early game draft composition where they couldn't really get their feet running behind them, but the second game, they felt very comfortable with those late game gods.
Well, I think a big issue here in that duo lane is honestly just going to be Jing Wei. Jing Wei is known as the hunter that kind of just wins that duo lane. Her passive is just so like bad for other ADCs to have to deal with because of the fact that at level 4, she can actually buy tier 2 Devo's gloves and still be able to make it back to the lane in time to hit level 5, which gives her she refreshes her mana and her health pool if by the chance she happened to get poked out. And on top of that, she's just going to have the Devos online because I guarantee Suntouch is going to opt to build into that Devo's gloves on Jing Wei. It's too easy to get such a good item on her online early.
It's all about the power spikes for Suntouch specifically. He's going to want to be looking for those plays whenever he can.
I should say as well, the Jing Wei was actually a really smart pick into the Ratatoskr. It does really well into that god. Obviously after the ulti, you get knocked up, so she can just dash away from it really easily.
And that's going to be very important for Suntouch if he wants to stay alive and get to that mid to late game form. You know, we've been seeing a lot of him playing the Freya, but this time around, it's going to be the Jing Wei. He's feeling very confident. And heading into the secondary bans, a lot of Guardians yet again from eLevate off the table with this Bacchus and Ares.
I really like the Ares ban here, actually. Going into eLevate's comp, the Ares pick would actually do really well. Obviously, really well into the Janus, really well into the Ratatoskr. Not so well into the Rama, but it's still a really good matchup.
And I think Dig as well, I really think the Kuma ban they did was a smart decision because you can tell by the Terra Sobek and Kuma bans, they really took out a lot of Dardez' comfort. And the fact that Bacchus, Ares, and Fafnir is also banned on the side of Team eLevate, it's going to really come down to Dardez and BigManTingz really flexing their god bills.
Well, Jing Wei is going to get walled off by that Ymir if she's not going to be careful in the later stages. And I like this idea for eLevate now to have this Ymir who's going to have a lot of space control in these team fights against Dignitas. They can't be too aggressive with this Fenrir if they're not careful.
To me, it seems the Ymir is kind of an interesting pick to me. It feels like the Fenrir is actually going to be able to abuse that possibly, as long as he plays it correctly. He should be able to get picked quite often, but obviously they should have something in their mind and how they want to play it. So.
It's basically something to stop the Brutalize in these team fights.
Well, that's the biggest concern, I think, if I were Team eLevate, is that Fenrir Brutalize can actually chase him through that Ymir wall. So Dignitas, I think, is definitely still going to have the kill potential on the Ymir. Fenrir is going to be able to burn out Ymir's ultimate, and if he gets rid of that CC immunity, Ymir is pretty much just a giant target for Team Dignitas to try and pick off.
It's funny that Dignitas were the ones that elected to go for the Geb, whereas eLevate are going for the more aggressive support. Normally against a Fenrir, you're looking for the Geb cleanse shield, right?
Yeah. You definitely want to go ahead and have the Geb. I think, honestly, eLevate should have been the ones picking up that Geb. And Dignitas probably would have picked up Ymir, honestly. I could very easily see these two having traded. But the fact is, I feel like Team Dig is going to have a lot more setup and a lot more CC to combat the roster of eLevate.
Well, eLevate's going to be hovering over the Amaterasu, and it does get locked in. So game number 1, Team Dignitas against Team eLevate. Let's see what Kevin and Hinduman have to say.
Thanks so much, Tolly, and thank you, analysts, as well, for going through that one. Biggest thing for me, though, is the boon that both Dignitas and Sanguine are going to have after game 2 we just watched between eLevate and Obey.
And it's just kind of that struggle for Orbit, I think, where everyone kind of thought Orbit would roll through this competition, maybe have a game that would be rough against Dignitas, maybe another rough game, but game 2, and they're already struggling against eLevate, who are many are pinning to be the bottom team. They don't have a shot caller. I confirmed that with you, actually. You were able to listen into their comms a little bit, but it's kind of like a group effort, and they don't have that one concise member. And for that team, just off of raw power and ability to brawl and fight in engagements, to take Orbit that far, that's great for everyone else.
Now, there is boons as well for the side of eLevate here. Obviously, they did just get through their rookie land nerves with that first set against Orbit, and on top of that, managing to actually put up a decent performance in game 2. Dignitas have 2 rookies themselves here at LAN, and they have to perform as well now.
Ducky was pretty nervous yesterday, so I'm excited to kind of see how he plays in this game. There are people who do crush under the nerves. There's people who excel when the nerves hit them. I think Ninja Bobat, we haven't seen him in competitive play in some time, but he was one of the better players on LAN, didn't really perform kind of online. Sanguine, Cherio here, now he's a little bit better online and more consistent, I think, but his play at LAN is just another level, and so Ducky's going to be a big question mark for me in this matchup.
As we go into this game now, let's have a little look. For me, I really feel here at Janus, Dignitas won picks and bans. The only thing that eLevate have going for them is their mobility, their global presence is their biggest opportunity in this game. But when you look at the counter picks that came out from Dignitas overall, so strong.
I'm gonna go back to something Dazer actually said, mentioning that the Ymir pickup would be abused pretty heavily by that Fenrir. Fenrir, very good. Just like an Ares at kind of picking off rotating players, especially those with low mobility, like a Ymir, whose only defensive options are freeze someone for a couple seconds, wall them off, but Fenrir can jump over. The thing here is that eLevate has triple globals.
That's true.
Not only Nulisa, not only WorldEdit, but also Jermain. And if eLevate can almost bait Dardez, right? They almost want to bait FrostiaK into trying to pick off Dardez, and then they just rotate their entire team over.
Interesting style coming up from both teams already. I look at Relics, and that's always a nice little tell of how this game's going to go. Now, eLevate like to sit back and counter-engage. Kind of shows in the shell, first of all, that you've got on the side of Dardez, whereas BigManTingz on Geb is starting this game with a blink. That shows a lot of aggression, a lot of reliability to be able to engage for his team.
Well, with Geb, he almost requires blink to be able to make plays. His ultimate is entirely defensive unless you have a blink to reposition yourself in the middle of the team. The later the game goes, obviously the higher percentage damage it does as well, but it is a risk. Not only do you have no defensive relics like a shell or a meditation to save you in bad spots, but also if you get put in combat and can't blink away, your rollout takes so much time to kind of start up. It's not like an Athena dash or a Sobek pluck where it's pretty fast. It takes a little bit and you can be blocked out of it.
Now I'm looking at this man, Jermain, who's on your screen now playing the Rama. I think a lot of responsibility in this game is on him, especially as this is the only lane eLevate have drafted that is a winning matchup.
And the thing too is, this is going to be a stark difference to their match against Orbit, where Funball and Trixtank, they're just like Dardez and Jermain. All they want to do is fight all the time. We saw that in both game 1 and 2. It was just a poke fest, everyone trying to take every opportunity. Suntouch is more of a farmer. Combine that with the fact that not only is on Jing Wei, but his support is a Geb. This is the lane that Dig is going to be under tower in for at least the first 6 minutes.
And when I say winning matchup, I mean just in push power. That's the only one that's going to out-push. Rather on the other side, up against MoGoW, who's played this Amaterasu multiple times before, is going to be up against it. Has to weather the storm against Ducky. And for you guys at home, Ducky got first blood on MoGoW in the last time these guys faced in a straight set.
This is going to be a pretty exciting matchup. I really want to see how Ducky performs. I think Dignitas drafted him a comfort pick too. Going on the Ravana wins a lot of matchups, especially against an Amaterasu in the early game. And because they're going to lose a lot of pressure in the duo with Suntouch and BigManTingz under tower, they need pressure elsewhere. Fenrir Raijin going to be a great matchup against WorldEdit and Nulisa in the mid-jungle synergy. And then the Ravana, in theory, as long as you play it appropriately, just wins out for the first couple minutes.
And Ducky, for me, is probably the rookie of the year in Europe. That's almost certain. I mean, his stat lines speak for themselves. But when you actually look at his play when Dignitas have been behind, he's still very, very consistent.
This guy could be a next wonder next season. I mean, I'm not saying he has, you know, no potential this split, but it's going to be pretty hard for Dig to make it to Worlds with how competitive the regions have been.
No kill just yet, but FrostiaK is actually showing some presence over to the solo lane early on onto MoGoW. MoGoW has his ultimate available here, and FrostiaK's going to waste a bit of time, realize he may not be able to get the kill, so will take at least some farm.
Just wants to farm up a little bit. Probably could have jumped in, maybe tried and forced the ultimate from MoGoW. That's something that Dignitas has a lot of trouble with. While they're great when they get early leads, they play scared in a lot of situations. Now, this is against eLevate, so I expect them to play a lot more confident than they would against an Orbit or, say, an Energy, but that's a lot of issues they do have that recur often, where they kind of just sit back and let the other team do what they do whatever they want to do.
Well, when we look at the duo lane here, you can see Suntouch didn't start with the Devourer's Gauntlets that Taco was saying he probably would go for here. I think he wanted that extra bit of movement speed, just in case Ymir does get involved in this lane earlier on. We'll see what he develops into, but at the moment, eLevate being a little bit sneaky in the jungle. They wanted to see if those balls were up just yet. Unfortunately, no dice.
And I think that's a good way to look into it, going for the boots early. You have your passive, which is going to be able to, like Taco said, regen your entire health and mana pool, reset you back into the lane without losing any farm if you time it properly. And you always have to be aware of the massive globals. Look at this already. eLevate grouping up in a great wall and a better freeze.
Big, frozen in place, forced to catch him, but still very low. One hit would be enough, and Jermain's looking for it. But Nulisa says, no, my friend, I'll take it alone.
Doesn't even need it. First blood going over to eLevate. FrostiaK jumps in there, but he's by himself. He's going to be forced to ult. WorldEdit does have Purification up, but he's just holding it, and he's going to pop his ult instead. Great job recognizing that Dignitas did not have enough members around to follow up off the Ragnarok from FrostiaK, able to save his Purification, only wasting a 90-second ultimate timer.
And Nulisa picking up that kill. Very, very good start for her. However, Suntouch out of position, forced to purify. Wall not really on place there from Dardez, and ultimate's not available to really close the gap. Suntouch can just agility away.
Good job on both sides. Great job to bait out the Purification. Obviously, if there is no Purification, Suntouch dies there. Quick reaction from him, he's able to get out, and he now is open to ganks in the next 2 minutes. And look at that, he's going to be straight back in the lane with that passive. We're going to be able to watch Suntouch on your minimap there, just not miss a single bit of farm.
Now for me, looking through this game, I was looking at FrostiaK and I was looking at Jermain. Jermain's got off to a good start in the lane. FrostiaK, not so much just yet, and you never know what FrostiaK you're going to get, because when he's on fire, this team will fly through the opposition.
I've seen him with old school Ratatoskr and Thor just put the entire team on his back. I've also seen him falter in those same situations. He is one of the hardest players to kind of pin down how good he is, because when he's on the top of his game, he's up there with Cubo Fred. I almost want to say, but you just don't see that often enough from him.
Consistency is his biggest issue.
That's the issue
here. Now BigManTingz is rotating towards mid lane. Now the support's starting to join the action with the mid lane and jungle composition. Just hanging around, has Blink available, but he's mainly just soaking those creeps through the wall, not giving away where he is on the map.
Good job from Nulisa and WorldEdit as well. I don't believe they caught the gap on the ward, but you can see them just playing very back. They just know, based on the positioning that Dig is in right now, that they're baiting something. And now that Dardez has rotated in, it's actually
Nulisa immediately ults, knowing that was coming through. Dardez not really able to get involved. As FrostiaK pulls the element, the drums of war from Shadow. Puts a lot of pressure on WorldEdit, who missed the pull. And now Suntouch might be able to clean that up, but WorldEdit will get to the sky to safety.
A little bit lucky there for WorldEdit. Another second, and if Suntouch turned that corner, Gust probably enough to finish him off. Instead, Suntouch just going to soak up a little bit of farm, but really fast reaction time from Nulisa there. We saw the Blink Cataclysm. The ultimate was already charged from Nulisa, and I like how she was debating on whether she wanted to go aggressive or turn to the wall and be defensive about it. She chose defensive, stay alive, let's look for a different opportunity to force a fight. Because I think it was eLevate actually looking for that fight as well. You saw Dardez turn that corner straight into a freeze.
For anyone who's saying that as an EU at home, I know you guys in Twitch chat, but what he was doing there was clearing the waves so he could go back to base and not have to worry so much about getting pushed on the tower, especially with how little money he had there. So quick wave clear, and then can either choose to teleport or walk back. This time, teleport for MoGoW.
Nah, man. EU alt forehead.
EU all day. Okay.
EU alt forehead. That's what it is right now.
I remember that for finals of Worlds, right? When NA lose again.
Hey, you just watch out, man. Soar's coming for you.
We'll see.
Soar's coming for you.
I saw
Denial and
Anderson's
LG
here,
have
by
been
the way.
phenomenal as well. Yeah, I saw Anderson in the crowd
He's
there.
getting a little glimpse of the EU scene and
A little bit of
bit of
support.
scouting going on.
And right now, eLevate off to a much better start than they were against Dignitas, or excuse me, against Orbit, where they had fallen behind. And this triple global composition, we haven't really seen them abuse it and go aggressive looking for kills. The only kill we saw was kind of just them walking over. And I think eLevate are actually looking to play defensive. They have a great counter engage.
It was more picking off Geb in the early stages, where he is his weakest, and with Talaria boots being picked up by him as well. Not really too much in terms of tankiness just yet. Hasn't invested in Vanguard either, but you can see BigManTingz has tried to be aggressive with that blink initiation in mid.
Both of these teams have really great kind of abilities to force fight. The Ragnarok, the stun, and the ultimate from Rad as well.
They were looking for Tings a little bit more, but WorldEdit going to disengage. Nulisa did use that global ultimate through space and time there as well, but weren't able to find the pit.
I found BigManTingz twice now with that. Obviously not enough damage. Early game, ShadowNightmare, okay.
No, that's just smart. Knowing that 2 global ultimates are down for them, he can start to pressure knowing that his team still have theirs available.
Can we highlight over Ymir real quick? I just want to check something.
Was he back to wall or?
And so the freeze just off the mark too. If freeze had connected, that's not worth for ShadowNightmare. He would have lost his purification. eLevate needs to be a little bit faster or more coordinated. And I'm pretty sure, if I recall, ShadowNightmare did sidestep that, right? He just like thunder crashed it and then sidestepped. So really good job from him.
Expensive is coming. You do have a little bit of a window against the
Very
Ymir
small,
to see
but
that freeze come in and be able to predict it. And not only that, even if you do get hit, you had BigManTingz with a shield waiting for you
pops
anyway.
it real quick. I mean, that was actually probably it. But you know, I've seen so many teams, even at the highest level, pop their purification the same time a Geb shield hits
Well, it's
them.
also game 1 for Dignitas here, and the worst thing is normally game 1s at LAN are the slower paced games between 2 teams, especially when you're first on stage, which is Dignitas' first time. eLevate off to a good start, and that's because they've had a little bit of stage time.
And we saw that in that last set against Orbit. Game 1, very slow for them. I talked to MoGoW. He wasn't very confident, and now ShadowNightmare in a little bit of trouble here.
A little bit surprised by ShadowNightmare now, but the rotation from Ducky could punish Dardez now. The burst is very, very good. However, MoGoW's trying to slow him down. Ducky's going to avoid the ult, and still Ducky going in. Changes his mind when the rotation comes out from eLevate, and Jermain is in the sky.
One shot. Second shot does connect. Third shot off the mark. Great jukes from ShadowNightmare there. It's going to be a washed fight. No one comes up. ShadowNightmare and Dardez kind of getting into a little bit of 1v1. Yeah. Dardez realizes his team isn't around to support him, starts backing off. Great job from MoGoW there, popping the ultimate entirely to defend his mid laner.
We talked about Nurse, and ShadowNightmare showed some there. He had Tings right behind him who could have just shielded that freeze, but he was so worried about it that he popped his ultimate instead. And that just meant that the fight turned the way of eLevate for a moment as Ducky and MoGoW both made the rotations. Really good plays from both of them, just to make sure they rotate in the early stages of this game, start making an impact as soon as possible.
And right now, Suntouch has just really been allowed to farm up. Not the Devo's Gauntlets that Taco had said. Maybe he doesn't know Suntouch as well as she thinks she does right there. Going for the Ick file. Great early game boxing potential, obviously. And the fact that you have that passive from Jing kind of enables this to where you can get into boxing matches against Jermain. You just need to make sure that he doesn't get low enough for the snipes to connect before Suntouch can back and utilize his passive fully.
Well, 50 stacks of that Doom Orb online for Nulisa in the mid lane and the penetration boots as well, as we've come to see. And obviously, that's kind of Nulisa's second go-to god. We've seen Raijin already.
I wouldn't even say that was I think this is her main god over Raijin.
I agree. We've seen a lot of Raijin. We've seen a lot of Janus out of her overall this split. And just safe gods that can sit at the back and be, you know, assisting the team more often than anything else.
You know, she's on the lower end of average damage for mid laners, but on one of the lower ends for deaths as well. Nulisa, I think the lowest of any mid laner.
Well, Suntouch is going in on Jermain, and Jermain will love a fight, but I don't think he's liking this one. Get bullied back under your tower, you Frenchman.
I almost thought Suntouch was about to commit there for a second, but he knows the ultimate there isn't worth it. That is not anything you would expect. If you took two hunters, if you took anyone against Jermain, you would think Suntouch would be the least likely to be aggro and trying to set up kills.
What they tried to do by pushing him out is go for the Gold Fury. Now, Dardez ran one side and WorldEdit taken up. Should be seen by Dignitas. Comes in, knocks up 3, but collapsed on for a second, forced him to dash away. Jermain forced to the skies on the left-hand side. And meanwhile, Dardez gets picked up by the Ragnarok, and Ducky gets his first kill of the Group A.
Dardez gonna fall as well. That's 2 kills over to Dignitas, and they're looking for more. WorldEdit CC'd to death, trying to dash away. Just throwing out out as much poke as possible. He's gonna die eventually. Great snipe from Nulisa as well, but ShadowNightmare, he wasn't low enough to get picked off. And that fight, that is credit to Frosty more than anyone else. He jumped straight to the back line and went on Jermain. Jermain is such a big factor. He took out his ultimate, and he even came up with the kill on top of it. Great job from him. The rest of the team just kind of whittled everyone down.
Now, tier 1 side on the right-hand side will fall for MoGoW there, who didn't manage to rotate to that fight. Had teleport available, but did not turn up. They do invade the blue buff there, and Nulisa was in the mid lane there. Did get an ultimate across the map to try and get some damage off, but wasn't able to help out in that fight. So that was a 3v5 in all intents and purposes.
Once again, a little bit of questioning from me. We don't see MoGoW teleport in. I'm not sure if it was up at the time. It could have easily been down. And Nulisa, incredibly late with the ult, was using it to secure kills, not to get her team out. If that had been utilized earlier, once again, I'm not entirely sure on the cooldown, but I'm very confident that it was up in the moment.
Not too upset for eLevate though. I mean, that goal for you, if you look at the difference, but getting that tier 1 tower on the right-hand side does put a little bit more pressure on Ducky about how far he extends over, as well as that tower being down changes things. Look at mid lane and Cataclysm on Dardez again. Got a little poke damage on him, but Dardez not too panicked there. He did start to run away and then realized how tanky he was. And then he was like, where's
we
the
even
missile?
saw it. He's like, wait, are you guys real right now? You just wasted a blink Cataclysm and all you got is 2 people?
I think he was more surprised about the lack of damage that came out from that little burst there.
I mean, he has Magi's online, only ranked two of the Urchin, so he's going to want to get that online ASAP so he can start stacking it up. Again, not efficient unless you have stacks on it.
Ymir, something we don't really see in North America play, but definitely a European favorite, and we've gone back to it again for Dardez here this game. Not sure he's really going to make it as much of an impact as he wants to after he did get counter-picked by that Geb.
And now Dignitas just kind of slowing down the pace right now. They haven't really been too aggressive. A lot of it's kind of just been based on countering eLevate, pushing into them. We've seen 2 blink cataclysms from BigManTingz in mid that haven't resulted in anything.
FrostiaK's dead already. The wall just cut him off. WorldEdit in the sky looking for the next person to go on, and ShadowNightmare says, nope, I will thunder crash away as Jermain slaps him in the back of his ass 3 times.
That would have been really dangerous for ShadowNightmare had he not timed that thunder crash perfectly. MoGoW gonna pop his ult here, just trying to steal away the speed.
He got it.
And he got it successfully there. Ducky can't defend, and now eLevate grouping up in mid here. I don't really think they have the people to siege this,
This is why I was fine with eLevate losing that goal Fury. It worked out better for them across the map. MoGoW got a bit more farm in that solo lane, taking down that tower. Nulisa got a bit more farm in mid lane as well, and now because of that, look at the lead Nulisa has over ShadowNightmare.
And this is not common. Typically, Nulisa is behind in farm, but doing a great job utilizing the movement that Janus has right there. Portal straight to the back harpy. She's going to be back for the mid lane in time. Even if she goes back to the base to finish off her next item, Chronos Pendant. I don't think she has the golden hand now, but going to be working on that, and using that mobility and just getting that extra item ahead is so important, especially because ShadowNightmare has invested into this sash instead, the Warlock sash, which is going to take a while to get online and stack up.
We'll give him a bit more health though, just to weather the storm of the engagements, and if you're going to get blinked on by a Dardez, has invested into that as well with the freeze, and on top of that you got the Janus Unstable Vortex and even the little rat out of the sky. You need to be able to weather the storm with that initial burst.
And no team really wanting to force too much right now. I think both teams are kind of playing it so slow, waiting for the next Gold Fury. Both have really good options. Obviously, Dignitas has a phenomenal counter engage with the Cataclysm, but we haven't seen it used defensively just yet.
MoGoW made a small mistake there. If he knew that blue buff was up, he should have just let Suntouch base, because that blue was free for him then, knowing that 2 members were heading back there to base. MoGoW going to contest though, and gets the steal again.
MoGoW on point this tournament. 2 stolen buffs. First the speed, now the blue. I would say MoGoW was my biggest question mark for eLevate coming in. We haven't really seen him be as confident in his play like the Bruise Brothers or even WorldEdit and Nulisa. Looking, I think, this is probably the best play we've seen from him so far.
Yeah, for MoGoW especially. I mean, other than when he was on the Myrmidons back when he first played Hades and everyone realized what his Hades was like, it was a different story. Suntouch though, rotating around to the right now to farm off against MoGoW.
This is actually a lane switch. You see Ducky moving over to the left. He wants to deal with Jermain. Ducky got to take a little bit of pressure. And this is just Ducky is very confident now with his Breastplate of Valor that he's going to be able to hold Jermain off of this tower. It's going to give Suntouch a lot of free farm as well, because I think eLevate do like to center around Jermain. You see Jermain moving around the map a lot. And so instead of that, instead of Suntouch having to be careful of that and follow him around, let Ducky follow him around.
And on top of that, Jermain's got to be very respectful against a level 16 warrior in this lane up against him, who has Breastplate of Valor and Bulwark available to him to just be able to tank up a little bit more and stop Jermain putting pressure on.
Also, the thing is, Ducky, Robin, well, great early game against the, MoGoW, the Amaterasu. doesn't work so much once Amaterasu starts hitting 8-9. Now that she's level 17, there's no way Ducky can match up into her. He's gonna lose the 1v1 trade, so instead now switching this up. Oh, but Ducky, not used to being over here on the left,
But
caught
Ducky's
out.
gonna get caught out immediately by WorldEdit, but the focus is actually towards Suntouch, who took a lot of free poke. Ducky forced it all away, but WorldEdit in the sky, and the snipes from Rama. He's gonna hold it for a second, get 2 off. Third one being thought about, not gonna find a kill at all, but put some extra damage into FrostiaK.
And here comes the Ragnarok as well, but the wall absolutely perfect from Dardez. FrostiaK barely makes it over, forced to purify away. Not a single kill on the board. A couple members getting in a little bit of dangerous territory. You can see Nulisa there just trying to run through the jungle to get away. And it's going to be a Gold Fury attempt. Almost everyone on Dignitas had to back. Jingwei's passive is useful. BigManTingz in the front line. But again, eLevate, they're not making concise calls. They don't know what they want to do.
Ducky is back, teleport into that mid lane. Now going to be pressured by MoGoW for a second here. It's 17 minutes in, and now is Suntouch back.
Are they out of range of that ward?
With sustain as well. He's going to pull this. Dardez will walk around the corner and make sure Dignitas reset.
Obviously the ward right there. That was pretty close though. That was a little bit higher than you typically see like that middle Gold Fury ward. But honestly, perfectly placed. Got not only the entire Gold Fury pit, but also kind of just outside the outer ring, giving you a lot more vision than a typical Sentry ward on Gold Fury does.
3-2 at the moment. 17.5 minutes in this game. Gold leads eLevate at the moment, surprisingly enough. It's only 600, but it's still 600.
3,000 experience in lead for eLevate as well. Big difference coming out of the jungle, I think. WorldEdit 2 levels over FrostiaK. FrostiaK kind of been a non-factor. We saw one great, we saw one phenomenal fight from him where he went on to Jermain around that Gold Fury, but outside of that, been pretty quiet.
Do you see the spectral armor the cameraman just pointed out to us there, picked up by FrostiaK in the jungle. A little bit more tankiness there for him. Not an item we see too often just lately.
I mean, that's going to reduce, when he pops his relics, he's going to have his cooldowns reduced, which is, this is actually, I think this is typically better with teamfighting relics, but in FrostiaK's situation, it works out. He's going to be a little bit tankier, want to be in the front line, and when he pops both of those, because he is in the front line as a Fenrir, he's going to reduce the cooldown on his Brutalize, on his jump again, and so he's going to open up more opportunities for his team.
Well, back in Season 1 and Season 2, Purification beads used to give you that application
Not anymore.
of 3-second reduction on all your abilities. And now, well, that's basically what the item does.
But, you know, not as easily used, I would say. Obviously, you have to invest into the item.
Agreed.
And, you know, it's debate of, is this better versus the cooldown reduction on some other items like Breastplate of Valor. So there is a trade-off now where Old Beads was pretty OP, man.
Well, the dance-off around the Gold Fury is going to continue a while here. We do see Ducky has returned to the solo lane, though, and Suntouch back to the duo. So this little temporary role switch we saw coming out there has decided to be changed up again.
I think that's a little bit of confidence issues on Ducky. We saw the rotation come in. He didn't really have any options. The Jingwei obviously can pop her Gust, agility away, has Airstrike, where Ducky doesn't have anything. He has his ult, but he doesn't really want to burn it, and Jingwei's just much safer.
Is that more credit to eLevate and the way they played around that switch?
I think that was it. We saw them immediately rotate 4 members over, try and set up the kill, and they attempted the Gold Fury outfit. They probably could have got it, and they came very close to picking off 2 members as well, and Dignitas were like, okay, we can't run this risk. If Fire Giant is the main objective you're looking at, I think the switch is fine, but because Gold Fury is still that primary objective, no one really in a position to force FG just yet. You're going to see eLevate rotate those members over to left, make sure Suntouch is safe. Ducky has less options.
Well, the third weakest team in this group, based off the placements, is eLevate here. You saw their performance against Orbit earlier on, and honestly, a better team would have beaten Orbit in that game too.
I would say so as well.
eLevate communication kind of let them down on that, but this game, they're looking very strong.
Incredibly strong here. Now the question is, are their objectives going to be the same? Because they're going against Dignitas.
Blink freeze.
And here's a gank.
Suntouch forced to purify. Great wall again. Going to force airstrike as well. Meanwhile, mid lane drums of war from Shadow. Going to force Nulisa to ult. Back to the safety of her team.
And that's going to be good for her to get out of that. They force Ragnarok and everything from Suntouch. He still does have his Sanctuary, but again, opening up those gank opportunities.
Meanwhile, though, you did see the teleport come out from Ducky there, a little bit premature from the young solo laner, and because of that, they're going to try and force something in the mid lane to make it worthwhile.
I'm surprised to not see Jermain rotating, instead focusing on the left right now, trying to bully out Suntouch, who's just going to back to base, and WorldEdit dashes in, immediately rooted in place. quick reaction time from Ducky there.
Good work from Ducky. As FrostiaK still around that left-hand side, we're looking to support if eLevate continue to go aggressive. Jermain, level 18 in this duo lane now. 0 kills, 1 death, 2 assists so far. But that executioner, just like Suntouch, is now online.
And I don't think Suntouch had the executioner last time, also had to play a little bit more defensive. But for as much pressure as we've seen on Suntouch, he has yet to die. And that's always good to see. That's the strength coming out of Jing.
BigManTingz takes a lot of free poke there, forced a Cataclysm as well, I believe. And now Jermain's going to walk away. The shell was used there by eLevate.
eLevate doing a much better job of baiting out ultimates and relics this game. Dignitas kind of just react when they're pinched into a corner, or we'll see the single blink from BigManTingz, but not a lot of follow-up like eLevate has been. When Dardez freezes, Jermain's right there, Nulisa's looking to charge her ult, WorldEdit's there, and MoGoW's typically halfway across the map rotating just in case it breaks out.
Now, this dance over the left-hand side for so long, Dennis, I think that's going to come to an end soon, because the Fire Giant is a real threat for both these teams now, especially with the Hunters nearing towards their max level, max builds. They can start shredding that thing on the other side.
I think eLevate will be a little bit more aware of it. We saw 2 Snuck Fire Giants last game, or last set. Orbit doing a great job of that. Dig, not as tenured as them. We don't really see too many cheeky plays, any snuck things like we see from teams like Orbit and Enemy, but still a possibility.
Good balls from Dardez. He's going to buy him time to try and attempt to clear that ward, and does so. However, another one quickly placed down by Dignitas to make sure they have control.
This is a problem for FrostiaK now. So he built into this he built into this spectral armor, but he has no health, and now he's not going into another defensive item. He's going straight into another penetration item. Left-hand side, though, trouble for touch.
Touch in trouble again. Big shield from Tingz, though, and using the gust to buy him more time. Hang in the air, not today.
Wow.
The snipe comes out from Jermain, and WorldEdit too. Could have hung up there a little bit longer.
Yeah, not sure why he waited so long.
And he got punished, and now WorldEdit, though, his overextended.
WorldEdit's in a lot of trouble here. Great taunt from ShadowNightmare, but he makes it through the portal. Now ShadowNightmare's in trouble. FrostiaK trying to pick off Nulisa, but she's in a great position right now, doing so much damage. Pinched off on the side.
Not going to be able to find it because of the Thunder Crash away, but there's the pick up of the reflection from MoGoW as Ducky cleans up Nulisa on the back. Jermain being looked at, but Jermain will try and fight his way out of this. No mana, little help, but Ducky and BigManTingz will beat the life out of him.
2 kills so far, still a win for eLevate. They came out on top 3 for 2. They have an opportunity to do the Gold Fury. A little bit wary of it though. Ducky's still hanging around there. They didn't know BigManTingz had backed at the time, but a little, once again, like a great presence of mind. Suntouch, you see his purification are up now. It was down during that fight. Going back to Dardez, always abusing that. Anytime he finds Suntouch, anytime he finds Ting, ShadowNightmare, FrostiaK, immediately freeze. No hesitation. Just trying to force out those relics. And that is what eLevate are winning this game off of.
I'm looking at the 2 rookies on the side of Dignitas who've never been to LAN before, Ducky and BigManTingz. They are both stepping up right now for their team. They're actually looking better than the rest of their squad.
I gotta, you know, MoGoW wasn't really a part of that fight, but all these rookies, people have never been to LAN, playing, I think, better in this group stage than they have in the online stages.
MoGoW a little bit too far forward here, but will dash away. Suntouch not going to continue to chase there, just going to focus on farming. Going back to what you were saying, though, I mean, yeah, I guess for the side of eLevate, though, you can come as a rookie and have no pressure. You know, you're not expected to come out of this group. So just have fun with it. Enjoy the experience.
Play your heart out, man.
Your best.
And now FrostiaK, I want to go back to what we were talking about before that fight broke out. FrostiaK's level 16, and he's mostly damage-oriented. He has 1 defensive item, but he has no health to that. And we saw Nulisa chunk him. Just look at the level difference between FrostiaK and every single one of the eLevate members. He can't really jump in, and that spectral armor isn't tanky enough for him to survive.
Well, for all intents and purposes, the game is pretty much even here.
Yeah, for sure.
Little bit in favor of eLevate at the moment as you look at the levels between the 2 teams. But other than that, I mean, it could go either way still, especially with the Fire Giant and Gold Fury being on.
And look at these urchins by both supports. 1 stack and 2 stacks. There's been a lot of action, not a lot of kills securing, which is, like, I would expect eLevate to be able to secure kills a little bit better. Obviously, you have to fight against the Geb and a lot of mobility, but you have these triple global ultimates that are so good at chasing, but they've been pretty wary about committing and chasing these players who get out.
That's true. I mean, when I listen to the late game, though, I'm definitely happy from a Dignitas fan here. I feel my composition is a lot better. I mean, pretty much all stages of the game. Just mobility, like global presence is the only thing eLevate really have going for them. Or maybe cheeky Gold Furies.
This is going to be uncontested. Suntouch going to loop around the corner. I don't think he's going to be in position in time, and he's not. eLevate. Sneak a Gold Fury. They already had a slight lead. Now about 2,500.
WorldEdit going to take to the sky. Knowing agility's down for Suntouch, and Suntouch pressure collapsed on, forcing Suntouch to airstrike. Very quick reactions, but he goes back in!
And here's FrostiaK Jermain immediately drops after only firing 2 shots. He's on the exit, but Nulisa went in. WorldEdit gets out as well. That's the ult I've been waiting to see from Nulisa. We haven't really seen it earlier. Ducky, look at that. That is a Rage ultimate. Saw Dardez clapping, and he was walled off.
eLevate just have to keep them busy here because MoGoW is on the right-hand side here and could look for a free tier 2 tower. He can't make up his mind though, as Dignitas piling down the left and getting a tier 1 left on 3.
Just look at Jermain, just like sitting there taunting them in their face, just like saying, come on me, I want to see that. Now Ducky, obviously the ultimate. Oh, actually Jermain could get caught out here. Oh, and Dardez blinks straight into the drums.
He does freeze though onto ShadowNightmare, slow some damage down as well. Meanwhile, WorldEdit trying to keep too busy, but the ult from Ducky, from Dardez, they're just trying to slow them down again. MoGoW has not gotten that tier 2 tower on the left and right-hand side, and Dignitas are actually doing okay here.
And they've got to get out now. You could see MoGoW TP's into the left, looking to chase down someone, but he's not really in a position to. Nulisa hanging around mid as well, and eLevate are just going to reset for now, go back to farming. That Gold Fury not up for another 3.5 minutes. Fire Giant is up, but I don't think any team's in that position right now. They're going to need some major picks before they look at it.
Overall, though, net win for eLevate again with that Gold Fury being taken. Yeah, they lose the tier 1 tower on the left-hand side. Nulisa, once again, shows how safe she plays. She's almost too safe, a lot of people say, and it kind of showed. She went to the engagement with her ultimate, showed up, said hi, and went, no, I'm done here. I'm going to go back to mid and farm again. If she can actually just be confident in her team protecting her a little bit more and her own damage output, they could do a lot more this team.
That was a little bit questioning though. Like, she ulted in and then she took her own portal as Jermain was like, no, I'm out, man. And again, it comes down to eLevate. The brawling, just they are a team that brawls. I think that's the best way to describe them. You have a Bruise Brothers dual lane. You have WorldEdit, who likes to play these mobile junglers and try and fight and gank as much as possible. But when it comes to the objective, to the teamwork, that's when they really lack.
So I interviewed Jermain yesterday, and Jermain was saying, like, Nulisa, she will never carry a game, but what she will do is she won't die, and she will sit at the back and help out the team. Talking about that, Nulisa now under pressure in the mid here, and drops through the wall from ShadowNightmare, just deleted the mid laner.
And WorldEdit's got to get out as well. Good wall from Dardez, but 2 people who are able to jump over it, and I don't see Dardez making it out of this one. There's 4 members surrounding him. He's going to get the stun for Mantle of Discord off, but absolutely body blocked and rooted in place.
Fire Giant, but tier 2 gets taken by MoGoW at the same time. I think this Fire Giant will go down for free, unless Jermain, the hero they need, the guy who lives in France and is actually German, Jermain's coming. Can he do it? No, he's not going to see it in time.
Too long. Dig comes out on top, but this could be killed. MoGoW's already killed one. FrostiaK jumps forward. Jermain's going to reset. He still has his ultimate, and I don't think they know it, but they are able to take him out before he gets up in the sky.
Just a little bit too delayed there, and now MoGoW is being body blocked to death and will be picked off as well. 2 kills go down in that little skirmish there, just for ShadowNightmare's life and the rest of the team with the Fire Giant now.
eLevate probably could have won that fight if Jermain was able to get up into the sky before that HP regen from the FG really kicked in, but this is where Dignitas is going to shine. They have Fire Giant, they're down 2k gold, but they're great at objective plays, immediately taking out those towers. They're going to rotate over the left-hand side here. I think are going to play this back. Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure, but with the people from eLevate respawning, just play it safe right now. They're still down in the gold.
You know who eLevate remind me of from North America? Noble Esports, or used to be called Randozos. They both have very similar styles in terms of their early game is fantastic. Their skirmish ability, amazing. Their team fights in the late stages of the game and their shot calling is what lets them down, and it's showing here again for eLevate.
If eLevate are going to come out of this group, and it's going to be real hard. They've already taken 2 losses.
A lot of games,
this game is still very even. I can't really call this, but I really think they need to start getting aggressive early and looking to just snowball games out of people's control with their ability to skirmish and brawl, because when it comes to the late game, you see the decision-making start to falter a little bit. They're great in the 3v3s. They're great with the 1v1 where someone rotates in, but when it comes to 5 or 10 players dancing around a Fire Giant, they're not exactly sure what opportunities
they're only good at calling things when they're ahead. Like, I listened to the comms in that first set against Orbit, and they were always talking when they were ahead and enjoying the engagement. When the engagement wasn't going their way or they weren't sure what to do, it was pretty much every man for themselves, disengage and run for the hills.
I swear, you could see that in their team fights as well. It's like, I don't know who's on what, but they're all trying to get out right now.
I had FrostiaK eLevate down as probably getting a split or 2 against Sanguine. If they can pick things up based off how they've done in these first 3 games, they have a real shot at actually being a contender.
And even if they're not a contender, this is going to be the upset team, right?
Yeah.
Someone's going to take a loss from eLevate, and it's going to ruin their chances, right? It's going to come down to that one game.
Final day.
I don't see how eLevate doesn't turn turn one win this tournament. They have a lot of games to play.
Well, as you'd expect at LAN, the games do take a little bit longer because those nerves are hitting home. Over 30 minutes in this one. The last two also went over 30 minutes as well. As Duck in the right, all alone here, but that's going to be okay. At the end of the day, it's still a Raven, and he can just peel for himself for days. However, with MoGoW swinging in the back, Ducky might need some help.
eLevate are looking for two things. They don't want a full team fight. They want to A, defend their objectives, and B, if they can get a pick off, they take it. But they don't want to overcommit to it. They need to play it incredibly safe and make sure to position themselves appropriately. Dignitas is not in a spot right now where they can really siege up and feel confident about it, I think. A lot of it's going to come down to BigManTingz. He's going to look for that blink cataclysm when everyone's grouped, but his team needs to be in a position to follow up. And eLevate, they're not behind enough for Dig to just run them through right now.
BigManTingz' job here is just to force the purification. Once he gets that down, that's when you'll see FrostiaK going, and ShadowNightmare with the taunt and the Ragnarok. MoGoW
not sure about that one.
Very early and does not find who he was after.
No one was in position to follow up off him. He was really far off his Phoenix. Good shots into the ShadowNightmare. And he does not have Fire Giant, so he's not going to be regenning unless a meditation is popped. And Dignitas do not have one. They've got a shell and a sprint.
Cataclysm onto 4 targets there. Dardez ults, WorldEdit in the sky. Going to come down
by
the back
himself,
and
though.
put some poke out, but collapsed on by 4 members of Dignitas. He does fall down to ShadowNightmare, and now Dig can march on.
That should have been a fight eLevate won. Once again, WorldEdit is in the fight. Great job by him, 3-man knockup. But everyone else was behind. Nulisa finally realizes it. The follow-up ultimate tears through Dignitas. I mean, look at the health pool of ShadowNightmare. FrostiaK was pretty low as well, but no one was in position. Again, this is a team that is so close to being a contender. They are right on the edge. All they need to do is figure out how to make a call and everyone commit to it.
The biggest problem is the Geb draft, I think. The Geb came out of nowhere from Dignitas here, and I think that made a big impact. This shield that he's got deletes the freeze that's coming out, and the only other real CC, hard CC they have is MoGoW's ultimate, and they so telegraph both those abilities that you can just shield that person, break away the CC, save the purification.
And Ting's doing a great job this game of forcing relics. We talked about that was honestly the strength we saw eLevate do in the early game, but heading into this late game, Ting's has no hesitation. He's immediately blinking in, popping his ultimate, getting as much as possible.
Doggy brings a bone to the team of eLevate, and the bone is already dead. That was Dardez, the tank for eLevate, and now with that man down and the Fire Giant about to come up, it'll be a 4v5 around this area.
This isn't a free Fire Giant, though. They did take out Dardez, which is going to be a lot of the primary CC for eLevate, but still the big players are up. Nulisa, WorldEdit, Jermain, even MoGoW, right? He's full build right now.
Look at the shred coming out from Suntouch on that Fire Giant already. Those crits coming through as well. I say that, but the crits start to fall off a little bit more now with that Deathbringer online, and the Malice as well to add to that. Dignitas get a free Fire Giant after the pick onto Dardez, and now they're barreling down the right for the final tier 2
I can respect that. Without Dardez, and if you lose a fight trying to defend that Fire Giant, you probably just lose the game off of that. Instead, they send Nulisa over to the left to split push, but she's not able to get a tower, unfortunately. She was at the edge, but the call was to defend this Phoenix as a group. Dardez respawning in 5 seconds. If Dig are going to make their move, they got to do it now.
They're going to fall back a second, though, because MoGoW goes in very deep there with the ultimate, going to force Suntouch out, but not a lot of poke takers. Cataclysm hits onto 2.
And MoGoW in a little bit of trouble here. He's going to be taunted, and Suntouch is already taken him out. Dardez respawns, but a little bit late to the party. WorldEdit finds 4. ShadowNightmare, nice option there. And Nulisa finds a snipe on ShadowNightmare.
And forces Nulisa right. So it's FrostiaK there who forced Nulisa all the way out, pops the Ragnarok to disengage. No minions here on this Phoenix, so it'll take a little bit more time to chip our way out.
Good. Oh, Jermain.
Great defense.
Taking a lot more damage than I think he intended. That wall doing a great job. And Dignitas finally take the Phoenix, but it's at the cost of a lot of ultimates, a lot of relics as well. And they're going to be less confident, I think, sieging this next one up in mid lane. And I don't even know if they want to. I think they're still deciding on the call, and it is to go for it.
Ting's going to tell this up for days, though, but they've got to be careful of Jermain around the right, and that's where Shadow focuses on a lot of burst into that Hunter from eLevate there, forcing him back to base, which means they can poke away a little bit more at the Phoenix, but not a lot of focus yet. Suntouch was zoned out by Dardez.
Great siege. Dignitas is not overcommitting. They know they're not in the best position to fight. Oh, but Ting's went by himself, and he's walled off. What is this? Dignitas separated their team, but it doesn't look like eLevate's going to be able to catch up. That could have been dangerous. It really could have.
I mean, still a Geb, and if Geb gets caught, at least you've got your damage dealers alive to defend, more than anything else.
And now Dignitas still have Fire Giant for 2 more minutes. Gold Fury's about to respawn. They've done a really good job right now of kind of after that one big fight they won, they got the Fire Giant, and they've just played it slow and methodical. They're giving a lot of respect to eLevate. They're not trying to force anything crazy. Even that middle Phoenix was a little bit risky, but we saw them not go too deep. FrostiaK jumps forward, does a little bit of poke damage, pops his ultimate, just trying to bait anything out, and then he just resets back to his squad.
Yeah, Dignitas have just settled in now, you know? They've got this first couple of minutes out of the way. They're in a stage of the game they've been in before, experience starting to shine through. And I said it before, but credit to Ducky and BigManTingz, because they got them through the early game, where the focus was really, you know, Dignitas were not playing as a full team then, and now, you know, they're stepping up.
Going to be a Gold Fury here as well. It's already a significant lead for Dignitas at 8K. This is going to push it over the 10,000 mark. Fire Giant in hand as well. And it looks like the team wants to siege up the left. Fire Giant's going to last for another minute and 17 seconds. So they need to make this call now, and they can't hesitate. And it seems like they're just rotating to the right. They're going to go for the next Fire Giant, I think.
They want the Fire Minions coming with them, I think, from mid lane as well, just to make sure they've got some extra pressure going on, and it makes eLevate make a decision to defend either middle lane, which will go through to the Titan, or this final Phoenix on left.
Less than a minute on FG right now. Dignitas need to make up their minds, because if they lose a fight just as their FG falls off, that's going to be an opportunity for eLevate to push forward, steal that FG back in their hands. And eLevate aren't that like far away. I know it's a pretty big gold lead, but most of eLevate are full build right now. You can see both the Soul Reaver and Rod of Tahuti online for Nulisa. One snipe might just one-shot Suntouch and ShadowNightmare.
I'm watching Tingz and I'm watching Dardez, because they're the two that will really initiate this fight. Either of these supports will go in with the blink, and the next minute we'll have a
Touch. He's by himself, and WorldEdit going aggressive. One place to the sky, 2 shots, third, no! He even had it perfectly red, but can't connect.
Didn't expect the airstrike. Meanwhile, ShadowNightmare takes a lot of free poke on the left-hand side. Ducky forced to fall back to protect him through space and time. Fired from Nulisa, looking for a cheeky shenanigans onto Suntouch. MoGoW going to cut off one option, and WorldEdit round the back. Means Suntouch is a little bit sandwiched.
How is he still alive? And now BigManTingz kind of rotating in. WorldEdit can't connect.
Hold was good.
Wow,
Hold was good.
I don't think WorldEdit meant to go in that portal, because he had Suntouch lined up in his face with no support. The Geb was not even close. That would have been a free kill, but once again, eLevate hold. And Fire Giant now off, going to be respawning in 46 seconds. Nulisa has... Nulisa, I almost want to say, is key to this game, because she is full build right now.
Space and time, boys.
She hit Unstable Vortex for half of Suntouch's life. He probably should have died. eLevate having a little bit trouble securing the kill, but that's still something that Dig need to be aware of. One ultimate, and they will die.
Now, I think the Fire Giant is going to spawn about the same time as that right-hand Phoenix, give or take, and the middle one's about to come up too, so there'll be one Fire Minion wave left in each to deal with, and so Dignitas not going to look for that now. They're trying to pick off MoGoW, who was forced to ult there on the right-hand side.
And MoGoW probably didn't need to ult. I don't think he was in a position that Dignitas would have been able to kill him. He's a little bit too tanky for them right now. Something to note, too, we didn't talk about, he's actually picked up Runeforged Hammer along with the Frostbound. For those that aren't aware of what that does, when you slow someone, if you slow someone and you're in the range of them, or not even you, if they are slowed and you're in the range of them in that 30-yard meter, they're taking 15% extra damage from all sources. So MoGoW gonna want to try and stick on someone that both Nulisa and Jermain are trying to kill.
Well, let's see if this weakened Phoenix can deal a little bit more extra damage thanks to that one, as it has respawned on the right, but as you saw, Dignitas got an absolutely free, uncontested Fire Giant there up against eLevate. eLevate have 2 weakened Phoenixes up to defend against Fire Minion waves as well. Ducky just gonna walk up and start bashing it down, keeping them busy. The Fire Minions just poking away for the time being, as Dignitas just patiently waiting as WorldEdit hanging in mid.
Just trying to play safe. They know that despite their gold lead and Fire Giant, eLevate are in a position where they can still win. They just have too much damage online, and Dig's a little lacking.
Blink freeze from Dardez, and MoGoW with the ult as well. Gonna freeze too, and WorldEdit collapses down, but Suntouch out with the airstrike. Space and time connects. ShadowNightmare, good night, sweet Prince. Nulisa dips out again, staying alive as MoGoW. He's not, he's back in base.
Traded 1 for 1. Phoenix still alive, but Dignitas, I think, are gonna come out on top of this. This Phoenix is weakened and eLevate not in a spot to defend. Right-hand side Phoenix goes down. Mid's probably going to go down as well, but Dardez is pushing forward. Suntouch has used agility. I think if eLevate knew this, they might full commit. And look at that, the Unstable Vortex just chunking.
I mean, you said commit onto Suntouch, but what do you commit with? All your ultimates are down? How do you even get in range of that very, very mobile?
I mean, it's risky at that point, right? You basically just need to immediately have Dardez wall, WorldEdit dash in, and you're relying a lot on outplaying at that point. The relics are still online for Dig. I think they used a single shell, and that's it in that engagement.
Well, to take into account, Suntouch has 3 escapes. Nobody looks at Gust as an escape, but you could just dance over that multiple times. and sit back and wait.
Well, I'd say, like,
Take
if
shot
they
combat.
saw him use like,
That's
he
true.
used his
That's
entire kit with no ultimate if they had saw that, but they didn't see it, so it doesn't matter. Even then, it would have been pretty risky.
So Tiggs went back to base there for you support players that like late game, and generally you go late game if you're a support player and you're pretty good because your team's rubbish. But reinforced shoes has been picked up after the Travelers. He sold those ones out, so that's what he's looking to do. A little bit more tankiness for his team and a little bit of crowd control reduction.
He has a decent amount of cooldown reduction already with the Spirit's Robe along with the Mantle of Discord. Shoes of Focus could have been an option there. Actually, I really am surprised that BigManTingz went this, and the reason is that he's already tanky enough. If eLevate dive on him with or without those reinforced shoes,
he's got
dead.
his hats in his eyes. That's why he bought the wrong boots. That's what Tingz has done. You can see it in the bottom left.
Oh, come on, man. That's you gotta watch the brim.
You gotta just raise it up a little bit.
Look at how like slouched Dardez is. He's just like no care in the world from this.
I mean,
kid.
Dardez just plays chill the whole game, man. That's what he does. I saw him play the first set against Orbit, and it was just the same way.
Just relaxed.
Just sat with his left.
That's great.
Left elbow, just chilling on the desk the whole time.
That's honestly what you want to see. Maybe not so much that relaxed, but the fact that the players on your team are comfortable. This is the first LAN for all of eLevate, and like you mentioned earlier, Ducky and Tingz as well.
Well, eLevate will have one more game today after this against Dignitas, and they're done for the day. It's Sanguine's turn to run the gauntlet to an extent of Orbit and Dignitas as well. Tingz tanking up this tier. Phoenix, I should say, Suntouch aggressed on and forced to purify away. And immediately Dardez gets forced out.
He's still alive for now. FrostiaK's already taken out Nulisa in the back line, and MoGoW's in a lot of trouble. WorldEdit needs to answer back, trying to find Ducky, but his team is falling apart all around him. 2 kills for ShadowNightmare. It's a double. Suntouch looking to pick off WorldEdit as well. 1 player remaining. It's Jermain. He's running around in circles, but that's going to be a deicide. Dignitas taking game 1 against eLevate.
Was not the cleanest game from Dignitas, but I'm pretty sure they'll take it for that first one to get themselves settled here at the LAN stages. Good little performance from them, and there's FrostiaK on your screen, who was a little bit slow in that game. You can see wearing the Steel Series headset there. Steel Series, the proud sponsor of this tournament.
Yeah, actually, all the gear in has been pretty phenomenal. I think we have a nice setup as well. You can see there. Thank you so much to Steel Series. What?
I'm stealing that later.
I actually already did, but don't tell anyone.
You can't steal it.
I don't tell Jared because he's in charge of it.
When they cut back to that to do the advertisement again, I'm just going to take the monitor and the headset away. You know, welcome to the Steel Series section. Where's it gone?
That game,
from
though,
Manchester,
that was once again though. Going back to that game, such a phenomenal showing from eLevate. This team, I don't know if they're going to be able to finish top 2, but at the very least, at some point in this tournament, they're going to take games off of players and teams that didn't expect it.
Well, I'm interested in what Toli's going to say, especially Taco and Dazer as well at the desk, because Dazer might be quite happy with Diggs' performance. Don't know if Taco will be.
Thank you, Hinderman. So far, first game going to Dignitas right now. It was a very slow game at first, but then it opened up really heavily about 11.5 when Dignitas got that 3-0 and the Gold Fury.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. I feel like from Dig, it was definitely a bit of a shaky first game. You could definitely tell that they were just getting into the swing of things, the LAN event. You know, like Hindu and Adonis mentioned, it is the first LAN event for Ducky and BigManTingz. But the rest of them are veterans. I was expecting a little bit more of a clean performance from them.
And right now, they're going to the path to Super Regionals, to the Worlds right now. And you can get your tickets too as well using the promo code GROUP8. And going back to that first game specifically, we also saw Orbit against eLevate. It was a really slow start. Do you think that's why Dignitas also was kind of like waiting because it was their first game of the day, so they're kind of like playing off of nerves?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a big part of it, at least. Whenever you come onto the LAN environment, it's always really good to get your bearings and really understand like how you need to be playing and like where you're at in terms of like, the teams. So yeah, I think that was a big part of it, like why it was such a slow game, at least in the start.
I think eLevate definitely improved a lot though from their last set. They were doing a good job objectively. They got some early on Gold Furies and they had a lot of confidence. It's just that they weren't really able to close it out. They gave a lot of positioning to Dignitas in the later stages.
I think a lot of what went wrong for eLevate there was that they kept trying to use like 3 to 4 ultimates to try and take out Suntouch early on in those team fights, but he kept surviving because that survivability with Jingwei between her ultimate, her knock-up, and her dash away. It's really hard to lock down a Jingwei, and the fact that he kept surviving and like Dignitas was getting the re-engage, I think that was also like hindering Team eLevate in that last few team fights.
They definitely overcommitted, and FrostiaK did a good job making sure that Suntouch was alive in a lot of these team fights later on. And what do you think eLevate needs to do differently, specifically in game number 2, to come back from this?
I think the biggest thing actually with eLevate is that like in all honesty, they're amazing players, all of them. Like they definitely earn their spot in the SPL. That's no doubt in my mind. But I think the biggest thing right now is that they need to get over these land jitters. And to me, like especially Nulisa, I think she's not really performing to the best of her ability. And I know that she can do better, and I think that she will later on in the group stage. But she's just not quite there at the moment. And maybe in the next game, hopefully in the next game. But,
well, she got her Janus this time around. She's very comfortable, I would say, with the Janus, having a lot of synergy with WorldEdit, allowing him to be aggressive and trying to bail him out. She just didn't have that player damage in the late game, and that allowed a lot of jungle control, I would say, for eLevate in the early game. But then once it got to that late game, it was all Dignitas, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say a big thing as well between... I just don't think the synergy was really there between WorldEdit and Nulisa in the jungle control especially. You could see that Nulisa had really low player damage up until the 30-minute mark, and I think that it made things difficult for WorldEdit in the jungle, and that he was ahead of FrostiaK actually early on for like a large portion of the game. He actually had about a level and a half lead on him, but then he started steadily losing that map control as the game progressed. And I think that a large portion of that was just Nulisa not playing with as much confidence as I think she should be, because I agree with Dazer. Like, I think that she's a great player. I think she definitely earned her spot, and I just hope that the synergy between her and WorldEdit like smoothens out a lot more to keep them going with the map control pressure that they do have.
It just feels that they need to close out the games a little better, because we saw the Fire Giant being done by Dignitas for free at a couple occasions, but eLevate was doing a good job holding their own for as long as they possibly could, though.
yeah, no.